now. All right. We're live. I don't know how you see if anyone's watching. I see we got Ray here. So it might just be the four of us tonight, but I just wanted to get on here. I've never live streamed before, so
that's amazing.
I'm amazed that I've got this up and running. But I wanted three of my friends to join me tonight that don't typically, I don't see you guys on live streams very much, so I thought it'd be fun to get you guys on here. And my philosophy on preparing for these shows is this is going to be the Seinfeld version. It's a live stream about nothing. But I was on one of these with Ray from Philly and John Keating. We didn't have a theme, and we just talked. It's kind of, I've talked to so many people, including you guys on the phone, and I've said before, like, man, this would be great. We should just make this a show, our phone conversation. And so this is sort of the senior citizens version of a live chat on here. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll show some cards. Jim, I've met you twice now at the National.
Yes, sir.
And the other two guys here I've talked to quite a bit. And Chris, I went back because supposedly Chris and I have met. And to my fault, I don't really remember it at the National.
Yeah,
but I went on Mike Monahan. What's that?
Christmas at the National, correct, Chris?
That is correct. The last two National.
Man,
the last two.
We must have met at some point over there, I'm imagining. I don't remember it, but
I kind of leave that mark on people, they just don't remember it.
I went back and watched Mike's live videos from the National, and I see him talking to you, and I'm in the background. And oh man, this year you picked up some amazing cards. You're sitting there showing a Lou Gehrig, Musial rookie, maybe a Satchel Paige.
So I did, but that was a little bit premature because I didn't leave the National with the Pee Wee, the 53 Reese, and there was another card that I showed in Mike's thing that I ended up trading away the next day as well for a particular card. So I when I showed that off, I wish that was the last day for me at the National. That way I brought home all those cards, but I didn't bring them all home.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to figure out how to put these on here. There we go. Why did it go away? I don't know how to keep it on here. Maybe I got to drag and drop it. There we go. Briefly thought this video was in black and white. The gray hair threw me off. Thanks, Carla. Nice. Except for Jim, I don't see any hair there.
I shave it all off. That way there, I don't have to worry about it.
There you go.
It's easy.
So we got baubles in here. We got reindeer. Don's Field of Rogaine is more like it. There we go. So
Don's Field of Rogaine. I like that.
What else we got? We're getting rid of this. Old people and computers. Bo, Luke, and hopefully Daisy. So the good old boys. So so it's group. I wouldn't tell them who I was having, giving them clues, and I said my bullpen coaches for my video that I did for Mr. Fisher Bike, and of course none of them knew what I was talking about. So it shows you how much they watch my videos.
I saw it.
I was like, thanks, guys. So who's got some cards they want to show? I'll start with one.
Okay.
So Scott Reindeer Studios gave me this Andy Russell card for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to know Andy and his wife. And so I got Andy to sign it for me this week.
Nice.
And it was cool because his wife was looking at it and she flipped it over, the famous leg picture that Scott sent me. And she said she'd never seen that before, that she had only seen the stats on it. So I'm thinking Scott forged this. It's a fake card that he sent me. I don't think it's real. Typical Scott move.
You got to watch that guy.
Oh, I know. Did you guys see the video that James Elite Hunters did that he just posted?
Yes, I did.
I haven't seen.
Yeah, he
No, not yet.
did. He basically did a drawing for Scott, so it's worth watching. He did a great job.
Oh, I gotta watch it.
So
I didn't know he was an artist.
I don't think he is. No, I'm kidding. No, he did a pretty good job on it. Much better than I could have ever done.
He
Speaking
did
of
it in less than
Scott,
9 minutes.
what's that?
They said he did it in less than 9 minutes too,
Did he?
at least on the video.
Right. So Chris, how long have we known each other? About month and a half?
That's probably right.
That's why on the phone. So
You and I talked before a card show, and I think that was about a month ago.
right. So you've kind of fit right into the community really fast because you're already making fun of me and ripping on me.
I just
And,
want to. I'm following
and,
everybody
that's
else's
the other-
lead.
Well, you know
Well,
what? If you can't take it, don't dish it out, right? So
Yeah, really.
it's, and I dish enough of it out. So it's I always say if we're not making fun of you, giving you a hard time, we don't really like you.
Well,
So Jim, what have you been picking up? And Jim, by the way, I appreciate what you've sent me. I'm making a video one of these days, so that's why I haven't said anything about it yet.
No problem, man.
But-
Good, God. But yeah, I just been picking up random stuff. I mean, I bounce all over the place. You know, I have. Like probably the rest of you guys. I have a hard time keeping focus, so I just see stuff that I like and buy it. Focus is an
And
issue.
Chris, yeah. And Chris, did you were talking about a sale you were working on? Did you end up closing the deal?
I did, and now I have a little bit of seller's remorse.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't. I guess I do a little bit. It was part of that state fair collection that it was. There was a lot of rookie cards in there, and I kind of wanted to keep them all together till I got the rest of them back from PSA. And a young guy's also a rookie collector, and he ended up buying them, buying a big portion of them, not all of them, but a big portion of them. And so even though I had duplicates of it, it was still a little tough for me to let some of them go. But yes, the deal did get closed.
Okay.
Which rookie cards are you?
Drew, you're kind of quiet today, man. What's going on with you?
I'm just listening. Which rookie cards did you end up letting go, Chris?
Oh gosh, just little ones like a Pete Rose rookie,
Oh,
a Roberto Clemente rookie, a Sandy Koufax rookie. It was a pretty good haul for the kid.
I bet.
He's not a kid. He's a lot like Don. I think he's a 6'5" college basketball player. But it's good. It's good to see young
So
guys.
it's really
like
good looking. Okay.
Yeah. No, not really. No. It's good to see young guys like that go collect vintage, though. Very cool to see.
You know, that's something I've noticed. The more I get involved in the YouTube community, is the amount of younger people. When I say younger, we're going to go with like 30 and under that are really into vintage. I'm not talking about dabbling or just learning, but really are pretty knowledgeable in it. And it's really encouraging to see so many guys, and some of the real younger guys, like in their teens, even, that are, and I know they feel a little intimidated. They've got lower grade cards that aren't that expensive, but still, I mean, that's how I started, with vintage, was a lot of 70s stuff. And then I finally picked up a 60s card and a 50s card. I think it's awesome to see guys that, let's say, don't remember the 90s into vintage. I just think it's great. And I'm seeing more and more. And I'm not sure if it's growing or if it's just I'm being more exposed to a larger part of that community. But I think it's been really, really encouraging to see.
Agreed.
Yep. It's good to support those guys too,
Yeah, that was-
because we need to bring along the young guys in this hobby. That's for sure.
Yeah. I wish when I was, in that age range when I was buying the packs and just doing what everybody else did, I wish someone had somebody to not give me cards, but expose me. And really, I think the bridge I knew of them. I didn't think they were obtainable. They seem to be some holy grail of a card, but I couldn't afford, or I didn't think I could afford, say, a star from the 60s or 50s. And I'm not talking Mickey Mantles and Clementes. I'm just talking about, some guys that we now are like, oh, you can pick them up even now with inflated prices. You can still pick them up fairly reasonable. I didn't know that back in my teens. I didn't know that back in my early 20s. So I was, getting at that time the modern stuff, which I don't regret because it still gave me a fuel and a passion for the collecting. But, I wish I had some cards that I had picked up way back when, because I could pick them up, either if they were lower grade or whatever.
Drew, though, when the four of us were teenagers, though, I mean, we're pre-eBay. Unless you had a card shop or card shows around you, it was so much harder to even see those cards.
But I don't know if it was like that for you guys. I mean, I live in a small town now, and at the time when I was in college, there was 3 card shops in my little town because card collecting, it was the big junk wax boom, and of course I was in there buying Tops and Upper Deck or whatever. But all of those had a little section of vintage stuff, and I just, I never asked, hey, can I pull that card out or can I look at it, because I didn't really know what they were. They just seemed too unobtainable, so I didn't bother trying to ask about them. I wish there was somebody to say, actually, you could get whoever it was. And anyway, you're right, though. That was pre-internet and pre-eBay. You couldn't just go on, sit down, pick out one. But still, it was still there. I guess I just didn't try to approach it yet. So,
right.
But
I know for me, I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I was going to say, I'm not sure about Jim's story. Well, a little bit. I remember in one of your videos, but I know with Chris, you talked about, when you were mowing lawns and you had that exposure. And Don, you had cards that you collected from the 70s, in the 70s. I guess, with me, the first cards I ever saw was 78. I've told the story before. My brother had a bad injury and he was in the hospital and someone brought him baseball cards. They were 78s. And that's all we had for a number of years because we couldn't afford cards. And so I studied those cards. When I see any card from 78, I know the card, I know the back, because that's all I studied. And, but other than that, I didn't have anything else until the mid 80s when I was able to, get sets or whatever, or packs or whatever on my own. So, but anyway, I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Don?
I forget, but what I wanted to say when you mentioned picking up cards in the 70s, I was laughing when I was watching you, Chris, the other day with Mike Moynihan, which, by the way, was a great show. But my very first pack was 1976 Topps. And I've told this story before. I was riding my bike and I wiped out and I tore my knee up and had to get 15 stitches. 9 years old, and the woman across the street, whose yard where I did this, brought me a pack over. And I was laughing when you said 76 was your favorite set, which I have all the Hall of Famers. Mm-hmm. But my favorite card from that set is this. So when you said both 76 and this card, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I know I like this guy for some reason.
There you go.
But it's for me, it's I just remember opening those packs, and when my parents, if they go away for a weekend, we'd go to my aunt or uncle's. My mom would always hide packs in the suitcase, and we'd get to my aunt and uncle's. My younger brother's only a year younger than me, so we'd open them up, and my dad wasn't too much about it, but my mom would sneak them in and make sure we got some cards, and so that's why I love that set, because it's just so many memories from it. And just like you said, Drew, the set with the 78 sets, like I remember those cards coming out of packs, and
sure.
Even all the commons, I remember every single one of those cards.
Yeah.
Now I didn't open up a lot of packs when I was a kid. Financially, our family wasn't in a place that we could where I got to open up packs, but that some of my best pickups were at a garage or some parent trying to get rid of their kid's stuff, and
Mhm.
and you know, it's that stuff is harder to come by now because people either know what they have or they think since it's a card
Exactly. Yeah.
that it must be worth something because I see this stuff all the time. And we were talking about younger collectors maybe having vintage stuff. Well, there's so much more information out there for them now than what we had. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I had Baseball Digest and the Sporting News, and that's where I got my knowledge of baseball players and baseball cards. But there's so much knowledge out here for these kids. Maybe they can learn from some of our mistakes, but that's, I think I don't know. I think it's easier to be a vintage collector today than it was, it's like history. It's like history. Back when Don was in school, that was called current events, and so, it's easier for them today with all that info.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated and Playboy were my go-to magazines when I was a kid. But
Yeah.
Jim, when did you start collecting?
I started collecting in the late 70s, 78 a little bit, started getting into it. And then in 79, my friend, I went to school with him and he was collecting cards like crazy. And I used to, look at his cards. And then, my father, he was the kind of guy where if I showed interest in something, he tried to encourage it. And so he would stop buying me packs. And so then, I would go to school and trade with my friend. And then one day, my friend came to school and he had this ad that he got out of some newspaper about buying a complete 1979 top set. It was like something you could mail away for it. And, so I went home and I'm like all over my parents, like, oh, I really want to do this. I nagged on them. And so finally they let me do it. Of course they had to give me the money and we sent away and I got the 79 top set, which was really cool. And, put that all together. And, that was it. It took off from there. The next year, 1980, really was going crazy, buying a lot of packs. And my parents would get me packs and stuff like that. And 81 came and my grandfather got into it and he bought like boxes and boxes of cards. I used to go over to my grandfather's house every weekend. We opened packs and just took off from there. And, then, the 80s, the mid 80s, the card boom started to hit. And, I was right in the middle of that, just going crazy, buying up all kinds of stuff right up into the 90s and early 2000s.
I
And then,
think
like
that's what
many of us, did you get out of the hobby for a while and then got back into it?
Yeah, I did. Around early 2000s, I got out of the hobby. I just had the wife, 3 kids, a house, dogs, everything else. And,
Right.
life got in the way and didn't really have any money to be buying cards and stuff like that anyway. So, it wasn't like now where you can kind of, you don't really have to, you could stay involved in the hobby with just with YouTube and social media and things like that. And, back then, if I wasn't buying any cards, I wasn't doing anything in the hobby. So I just put everything in storage and, I just went on with my life for about 20 years. And then, 2018, the end of 2018, I had all this stuff in storage, like thousands and thousands of cards that I had in storage. And I told my wife, I said, I think I'm just going to get rid of this stuff. It's just so much. I'm not doing anything with it. It's just taking up so much room. I think, I'm just going to probably just end up getting rid of all this stuff. And I ended up starting to take the stuff out and I started looking through it. And, the memories and the stuff started, coming back to me. And I'm like, wow, this is, I'm starting to like it now. And then I just went on YouTube and I just put in a search, baseball cards. And the first thing that popped up was Silver Jackify. So I went on there and I started watching. I watched one of his videos and I'm like, holy Moses, this guy, he's got some serious enthusiasm here. And I'm reading and there's like all kinds of comments and there's like, he's got like 2,000 views on his video or whatever it was. And I'm like, holy shit, this is something going on here. So then I ended up binge watching like every one of his videos while I was looking through 100,000 cards that I had in storage. And that was the end. I was hooked back in right from there. So that's my story.
I think that's a lot of us, although I didn't keep a lot of my stuff and have it in storage. I did keep some of my stuff from when I was a kid, but I think Chris was mentioning this the other day. Like my brother and I, we had a game and would roll up a little paper ball and would take the card and smack it for a hit and push the cards to run the bases. And I put my initials on the back so my brother wouldn't steal them. And, I held on to them thinking these are going to be worth something someday. Had no idea about condition back then. And, but it's still kind of cool to look back on them. I would never get rid of them. Just because they were the actual cards we had. And I think it's kind of cool that I put the D on the back of them. So
good memories.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. And we're making memories now. I mean,
Absolutely.
I have so many, including from you guys on here, things I've received from YouTubers. And I always say never expected, but always appreciative. I did not expect that kind of friendships when I first got on. I mean, I did say that I wanted to meet people, and that's why I started my channel, because I was, I saw everyone else interact, and I'm like, man, I wish I had something like that. And, except for this thing, I have to clean up after my dog in the backyard later, so I'll be scooping that up with this, but
you better not.
But if you think
my
about
boy
it,
Scott.
if you think about it or listen to what all of us are saying, I think there's two sides. It's the same thing, but two sides of our life. When we were a kid, all of us just told a story about the connection we had as a kid. My snuck cards into the suitcase, or I went and opened at my grandfather's, or cutting the grass with you, Chris, or whatever. And we have that connection. And it's not the cards necessarily, it's the memories of how we got them, who we were with, the smells that were in the house or wherever we are. And all that takes us back, that nostalgia. And then nowadays, the reconnection, because I think a lot of people got out of the hobby one way or the other, or at least collecting. And then we kind of had the ache, I suppose, for that connection again, except now our parents are gone, or they don't, it's different. We're not kids anymore. So we reach out online and on YouTube. And I mean, I started getting on YouTube because Jake encouraged me, hey, just tell your stories. I mean, because I think he was tired of hearing of them over and over again. And the truth is, I started my channel because I just wanted to document them. My kids are not interested in my collection, but they're interested in my stories because that's part of who I am. That's why, I say the vintage legacy. It's who I am, is my legacy within collecting. And it's that connection. And through people like Jake and then others, I've met other people and I've become very good friends that I talk life with. I mean, Don, you and I have had a number of conversations about woodworking. It has nothing to do with cards, except we're trying to show our cards, display them, but we connected through, wood, or, another friend, a good friend of mine and Jake's, just had a very sad day. His mother-in-law passed away yesterday. And, Jake and Will and myself, we're all like, worried about him and how's he doing and how's his wife doing and stuff. So it's a connection. Speaking of connections, is Scott's on there. He was one of the people I respected until that last comment he just posted. But, with people. And I haven't personally met any of you. I don't know if I will. I haven't been to a national. I'm not sure when I'll be able to. You know, Jake and I know each other because he lives close enough. Someday, you know, Don, we've talked about it when you come down here. But I mean, we
Right.
are all over the country, and so many of our people are all over the country. But still, I mean, I've had great texting conversations with Dylan. You know, in Hawaii, I don't think I'm ever just going to swing by his house and say, hey, you know, and I don't think he'll ever come to Northeast Georgia to see me. But still, we've made a connection, and it just, I think that's the connection through all of it is we have the memories of when we were kids of opening packs with our brothers, parents, grandparents, whatever, and now we have this connection with people that we've met through this new form of YouTube, and still, you know, just sharing our experiences. Thanks, Scott. I love you too.
I mean, you know, outside of the national, I'm fortunate that Bob Lewis lives 20 minutes from me. D and I collected all is half an hour. Scott is just 2 hours up the road. John Wade Boggs' fan lives 3 hours away. Came to Pittsburgh for a show. This summer we had a vacation / college tour for my one daughter, so we headed down south. So I got to meet up with John Mangini in South Carolina and Alex Bowman 53 down in Georgia. So, like I said to my wife, I said, I think I could go almost anywhere in the country, and I know someone now, or even, you know, parts of Canada, and it's, you know, it's the thing we all laugh about. It's, you know, I met some dude on YouTube, and
Yeah,
you know, I'm
going
going to his house and hanging out, and
yeah,
you know, Jake after the National slept over at my house one night, and I was like, you know, to my wife, you care if we have this little leprechaun guy in our basement? And it's awesome.
When I went to the National this past year in New Jersey, I wanted to make it a point to talk to like Ray from Philly just real quick, and Eric,
Yeah.
of those back pages, because in my message, and I don't know if it came across, Ray probably thought I was some kind of weirdo, but what I was saying to him is what they were doing was important. Even though they were having fun and showing off cards, I believe it was really important because I'm in Middle Missouri, and you know I've said this before. I don't have a ton of people that I can talk to about baseball cards, and you know they got me excited again about the hobby. And you know my mom's health is really, really good. She's young, but she has no hobby since my dad passed away. So her hobby is work. I have uncles whose hobbies are work, and I don't want to. Well, that working hard is overrated for me, and they got me excited again about getting my stuff out, looking at my stuff, talking to other people about my stuff. And so even though they were having fun and all that kind of stuff, they didn't know this, but they were connecting to a short, fat guy with 2 kids that don't make much money that lives in Middle Missouri. And I just want to know, I just wonder how many other people that people on YouTube has made that connection with. And I think that, you know, I think this is just another form of my collecting hobby.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly it. It's an extension of what we already do. And it's not, what I was surprised when I really got involved with so many people is it's not as much show and tell as you would think. You know, like, look what I got or look what I got. It's much more the encouragement of encouraging, look what you got. You know what I mean? And I've come across a lot of people with awe. I can't believe you have that, or man, that's amazing, but not jealousy. Like legit, just
Right.
good for you. You know, like Chris, when you came on and started showing your stuff, I mean, in comparison, your collection is eons ahead of mine. But you know what? Good for you, and I'm happy for you. I don't sit there and be like, oh, I can't believe he got that, or man, I wish because you know what? I'm just happy for you, and I don't know you, and it's the same with anybody else. You know, somebody picks something up, they usually pick it up because it's a card they want, and you're just happy for them. It's just nothing more than just good for you to get something, and I'm happy for you because you're happy. That's the community that I've just really, really enjoyed. and it doesn't matter what they collect. You know, if they are graded or vintage or raw or modern or whatever, if it's what they want, good for them. You know, one of the guys I've really gotten to know personally very well is Jason, Mr. Fisher Bike. He collects a lot of modern stuff. I don't, but he picks something up and I see it in his face. I'm like, man, I'm so happy for it, even though I don't even know who that player is because, you know, I'm just not into prospects and stuff like he is. But you know what? Good for him to pick that up because it's what he wants, you know. I'm even happy for Lou, and he's a Yankee. So, you know, okay, I'm almost happy for Lou, but not because he's a Yankee fan. But anyway.
He can get therapy. He can get therapy for that.
Well,
Yeah, there you go. He needs it.
it's hard.
That's like Jim, when you want, or not one, you purchased that 53 Eddie Matthews.
Yes.
I'd been watching that on eBay. I wasn't going to buy it, but it was just like, this is a beautiful example of this card. And then when you put it up, I'm like, that's got to be the same card. And I like paused the video and looked at your cert number and went back on eBay. And I was like, oh, good for Jim, man.
That was the same because I bought that at a card show, so I didn't even know that was on eBay.
Yeah, he must have had it on eBay, and then because it was in my watch list, and then it said this ending is this listing has ended.
Yeah,
So he must have taken it to that show. But
that's funny. Yeah, that's a
because
nice.
it was too nice in the same grade, I'm like, that has to be that card.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah, good looking
that was
card.
a great card for you. You know, too, and maybe it's just because I subscribe to these kind of people, but I have felt most of the people I interact with are just down to earth people. Doesn't matter how rich you are, or you know, there's obviously people who can afford better cards than I can, and maybe I just gravitate to those kind of people. But and it's been said a million times, when you meet these people, they're just what you see on YouTube, and that's what I like about it. Like, you know, I know a lot of my friends enjoy watching the drama. It's like a big soap opera, and these guys doing all stuff, and they get all riled up. And I tease Mangini. I'm like, why do you even watch it? But I think it's like his high, his fix to watch these guys and get riled up. I'm like, I just don't watch it because I'm not on here for the stress. I'm here to see people that I would be friends with in real life and have become friends with many of you guys. And, you know, I don't know how other hobbies, I don't know if knitters or people that collect stamps or coins, like if they have this group like we do.
I don't think so.
You know, and I don't know how it got started, but it was, you know, I was accepted into it and welcomed, and it's, you know, there's no way I would have gone to a national if it wasn't for YouTube, unless it was in Pittsburgh. You know,
Same.
but and last year Atlantic City getting a place with 5 or 6 guys, and then we had a bunch of other guys that would just stop over and visit. You know, and again, like that's when you were excited, like you were saying, Drew, to see what other, you know, would come back to the house, because we'd get to the show and we'd spread out and do our thing. And we'd get back to the house and kind of regroup, and everyone was showing what they got. And it was great. You know,
Yeah, when I watched the videos, so many different videos during the national, that was the part I always enjoyed, was not seeing stuff. I mean, there was stuff there that I've never even seen or I couldn't imagine owning. So the show and tell in the cases was good, but it was back at the houses, or it was just the fact that a group of guys are going in together and helping each other. Like, hey, I found this, you were looking for this, or what's your price range or whatever. And that's the stories I've heard from so many of you guys that were there. Again, is just meeting up in this community. So that's just been, I don't know, that's a part that I'm hoping someday I get to go, but I don't, if I don't, you know, I just have to keep making misery videos about not going like I did last year. So
that was a great video.
oh man, I see Mike.
So we could look forward here.
I had to make that. I thought about that for a month. Like, if he mentions one more time in Golden Age of Cardboard about how excited he is and I can't go. So I did. I made a video. So I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, I know. Isn't Mike just really annoying? Yeah, I don't even watch Mike's videos anymore. He's so annoying. He's
brought me
over
on.
here.
Mike brought me on to up his numbers a little bit. And so,
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought you on here too, Chris.
you brought me on here.
You
brought me on so I'd be the only one older than you.
That's funny.
The sad part is I don't think you are.
I am by 1 month, but
Oh,
you're
okay. There we
catching.
go. Good.
You're,
Yeah, I need
you're
to bring
catching.
Rick
I
and
used,
Nina and Tony psyched on cards. They might be the 3 other older ones.
yeah, but you're catching me though because I used to be twice as old as you.
Technically, yeah, sure. That's funny. So, anybody else have anything else to show? I never said that, Mike. I didn't say that. I just said I wasn't able to go.
Come on, you guys got to have something to show.
Oh, I got to show a Babe
I'm
Ruth
the only one
card.
that's anything.
I got to show this. Can you see that one?
So nice.
That's
So
cool.
that was one of the pickups at the state fair find that I had, and I'm just trying to learn more and more information about it. Rick, it's kind of funny, Rick of Rick's Oddball Cards. I had messaged me back and was telling me more and more about this set and about this particular card, and that's another thing that's what's good about the hobby in these videos. We don't know it all, we don't know it all, but there's some guys out there that are very knowledgeable and they're not afraid to share what they know with you. It's not like they're trying to keep it a secret, and that's really cool about the hobby.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
no
ton-
doubt. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that so many different kind of cards and sets, and man, just from watching YouTube, I've just learned so much, like things that I never ever knew or even existed.
Mhm.
And that's one of the cool things too, like you said, Chris, because especially for us older guys. I mean, back in the day, there was no internet, there was no anything. It was just whatever you came across at any card shops that you might have had or any card shows. That was pretty much it. And then they had Beckett and stuff like that. But other than that, you didn't know about a lot of this stuff. Like you watch Rick's videos and Blue Jacket 66 and some of these guys, and they just some of the cards that they show is just I never even heard of them, never even knew about them before. It's really cool to learn about stuff like that you never knew about.
Yeah, I agree. The sharing not only cards but just knowledge of just learning so much. Because even though we'll say of a different generation, none of us were still opening packs in the 40s and 50s. I don't know if you guys know any people that you got direct stories from, but hearing them online or just people you meet and just the passing of all that information freely, not to up anybody else or better anyone else, but just because, well, here's some information. And that's why I do like, channels like Dave Blue Jacket 66 or John Mangini, because they're just a wealth of information on so many different things. And it's just a constant education. And that's a fun part too. You may not be gaining the cards, but you're gaining knowledge about it. And it's a lot of fun. So.
Right.
Agree.
Yeah, here's a card that is a food issue card. The only food issues I knew about were Kellogg's and Hostess because that's what we had as kids. And this is the 53 Stallmeyer Campanella.
Oh, nice card. That's beautiful.
Which I saw Mangini had this card, which is the same poses on this card.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the only food issue I have, but I love seeing like some of the Willie Mays and the Hank Aaron's that all those guys have, and the Wilson Franks and Cons Wieners, and
Yeah.
what was the one they was showing tip top or something bread like
Top
they
red.
was
Yeah.
showing a mantle.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of food issue, I had somebody, a friend of mine, I said, anything you want to see, because he's watching, and he said, well, Don and I are both musical guys. Show a musical I haven't shown. So I'm going to show this one, which is my Bond Bread. See if I can get it in frame. Same usual. And sorry about the glare, but just a great pose, great black and white pose. And I have it online, so but there you go. Well, now you got to see. But
Yeah, that's the same pose they used on this card on his bird boss.
yeah, and I've got. In
I
fact,
think.
pulled up-
Can you put yours back up, Drew?
It is. In fact,
Yep.
I'll show because I've
There
got
you
that
go.
one too.
Nice.
There.
You have this one, Jim?
I'm out.
We're
I'm
leaving
in.
Jim out.
Come on, Jim. Come on, Jim.
But speaking of YouTubers, this was a gift from Alan's Cards. I bought some cards off of him, and he said, "Do you have this card?" I said, "I don't." And when he shipped the cards I bought from him, he'd thrown this in. So just
That's awesome.
amazing.
That's just great. That's awesome.
Yeah, the Boston kid, Terry TJ Maxx, has a great channel. And he's unique too. He's always kind of got a theme or a story behind whatever he shows. So yeah, really
Yeah,
enjoyed
Terry-
Terry's.
Terry was, oddly enough, he was like my third subscriber. It was very bizarre because Jake had been asking about, do a video. I had been in a couple of his, and I finally started my channel, and the only people that I had subscribed were my friends Jake and Will and Jared, and then all of a sudden Terry subscribed, and so I started interacting. Of course, he's super supportive, and I asked him, "How did you find me?" And he said, "I was looking at an old video of Jake's, and I decided to see if you had a channel." I just legit had launched the channel that morning, so he subscribed and with me since day one, just in an unusual way. But Terry and I we've chatted a few times too offline, and he's a super great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I first came across Terry around 2007, 2008. I used to be on PSA's forums, and there was always a guy on there that showed display cases of years, 73 set or 85, whatever. And then I started watching YouTube, and I'm watching his videos. I'm like, man, those look really familiar to me. Where have I seen those display cases before? And here it was Terry that was on the forums 15 years ago,
That's
or
cool.
whatever it was. Yeah. And he for a long time, because if you look at a lot of his PSA cards, they're the older
Build style.
what do you call that? It doesn't have the lighthouse thing or
Mhm.
whatever that's called. But so Chris, you were telling me, and I didn't hear the whole story. And if you don't mind telling this story, I think other people would be fascinated to hear it. You were saying you did a Zoom conference, the tour of the Baseball Hall of Fame, or something like that.
Excuse me?
I was wondering if you could tell that story where you did a Zoom live video of touring the Baseball Hall of Fame.
So this was almost 15 years ago. So the Hall of Fame has it set up that you could do a virtual tour. And I'm an ex-high school administrator, and we had this capability in one of our classes. So we basically logged into the Hall of Fame, and we had a person that took us around to various places inside the Hall of Fame, and we could ask questions there, and they would show pieces for us, and it was live. And this was, to me, it was like state of the art stuff, since it was 15, maybe even 17 years ago. And it was like, I've never been to the Hall of Fame, but it was like going to the Hall of Fame. The only thing is, I didn't get to choose what I got to look at. I had to look at it through somebody else's eyes. But it was a great time. It was very educational for the kids that were interested in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Did they go like behind the scenes, like down into where they store things, or was it just the part that you could see publicly?
So no, that was the part I probably didn't enjoy it as much as what I envisioned on and how I would enjoy the Hall of Fame if I went there. But they pulled out memorabilia, and so they showed us a game used Babe Ruth bat. They showed us various pieces like that, different gloves, and I remember them showing us an exhibit on where the pine tar bat was at the time, just because we were in Middle Missouri, but very cool stuff, and I'm sure after 17 years, I'm sure it's even better than that now. But it's something that the Hall of Fame offers.
That's very
It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been there, Drew or Jim?
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I went as a kid one time with our youth group. I grew up in New Jersey, so it wasn't that far. And then let's see, my wife and I actually did a road trip through New England on our honeymoon, and that's what stuff was in Cooperstown. So she's a keeper. She's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And
Right.
And then I've been up there a couple other times with some friends. We went on another road trip with some friends and went up there, and I've told stories about stuff that happened on that trip, and just a good time. I really want to get back. I've got some good friends that live around the country that are baseball friends, and just doing it with friends it's so much better, just to go than go by yourself. And while you can enjoy it by yourself as a baseball fan or history fan, to do it with friends is just so much better. So, but yeah, I've been there, but it's been, I guess it was 2016 was the last time I went. I went right after Griffey was inducted, and
Okay.
it's been a little while.
Jim, that's not that far from you. I guess it depends where you are.
Yeah, I'm about it's like a 3-hour drive to Cooperstown from where I live. So I've been there
Okay.
several times over the last few years, and I'm actually planning on going back again in March. There's like 10 guys that I'm friendly with on Twitter, and everyone's making plans to meet in Cooperstown in March, and I'm gonna go over there, and it should be a good time. Like typically when I go, it's just me and my wife. So like Drew said, it should be a fun time going with a bunch of guys, So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's a great place. I always have a great time. Even besides just going to the Hall of Fame, just the whole surrounding area is just really nice. There's a lot of card shops and just different things regarding the sport of baseball just throughout that area, and even the Doubleday Field behind the Hall of Fame is just a nice place to visit, and I love going over there.
Yeah, I've only been there once. It's been 25 years, and I went with my father-in-law, and I'd only been dating my wife a few months, so she was very nervous about me going up there with him. And so we toured the museum, and at night I went back because I think it was like an all-day pass you could use, and I was the only one in there. And it was kind of the reverse of what you guys were saying, how great it is to go with a group of people. It was kind of awesome to be by myself, and just like it was like this aura, walking around this museum of greatness. And I can't believe it's been 25 years since I've been there, but it's definitely on my list to get back. But it's like I live an hour and a half for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I never go. But it's something I should do. And maybe I'll get Scott. Scott doesn't live far. What's that?
I'm only about less than an hour away from the Basketball Hall of Fame as well, and I've been there a couple times. But being that it's so close, you'd think I would have been there more. But I've only been there twice, but it's not even an hour away.
Yeah, I was there when it was in an old school. You remember that?
What is it?
It was like in an old high school or middle school before they built the building.
No, I don't. That before I was there. Yeah.
Well, that's like I live in Northeast Georgia, and Ty Cobb is from Royston, and Royston's only 3 towns away from where I am, and the Ty Cobb Museum is there, and I've lived here 30 years, and I've never been to the Ty Cobb Museum, and it's one of those things I'm like, I'll go someday, and I never have, and it's just stupid because it's literally down the road, and I could just go on an afternoon if I wanted to, but maybe someday. So you guys ever get down to Georgia, we'll head over to Ty Cobb Museum and check it out. So
Well, that's the same here. The Clementi Museum. I went to it in September. It's half an hour from my house, not even half an hour, 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And it was incredible. I'm like, I can't believe I haven't been here before. And then the other day, there's a town called Carnegie, or Carnegie, as Chris would
Yeah.
say, where Hannes Wagner's from. And they have a little museum, and it's awful. It's like they have starting lineup things of Hannes Wagner, and they claim they have this game used bat you can hold, but yet they let you hold it without gloves. And then you go into this other little room, and you know that it's a non-profit. It's just a bunch of local guys. So I shouldn't say it's awful because they're trying, but they've got this display case, and they're like, we believe this is an original Hannes Wagner signature on this book. And I'm looking at it, he goes, I'll be back. And he left, and I'm looking, and I was just curious. I had these sliding doors, and I slid the door. I'm like, come on, guys. If this is really Hannes Wagner, you're not even guarding it. Like, I literally could open this, took the book, and walked out. It was like, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's the real thing, but they weren't very protective of anything. And so, but that's like when I was in Greenville, which this year, where Shoeless Joe Jackson is, his museum was under construction, or the museum wasn't, but the roads around it, because there's a minor league team stadium right there. I believe it's the Red Sox team. So I didn't get to see that. But yeah, sometimes you take for granted what you have so close to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'll get down to the Clementi Museum. And once I went through it, I was like, I'm almost ashamed that I've never been here. So, anything else? Any other cards, guys? I can show all kinds of stuff here.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll show you something because I mentioned it in our text earlier. And Don, I know you're a big Musial fan, and you know I'm all about display. I love displays, and I like to design and make displays that are kind of unique. I've shown some in some videos. I haven't shown this one though, but I thought this was really cool because Jim's on here too. So I had found a Sports Illustrated from I'm going to look at it before I show you guys because I'm not sure. 1957, and it's about the All-Star game. And on the cover is Musial and Ted Williams, both hitting, and it's the Battle of the Titans, the All-Star game. And what I did was I ended up framing the magazine, and then I took the All-Star cards of the two guys and put them in there together. And that's one of my favorite, I'm terrible with the camera thing. It's one of my favorite displays I made as far as like just the unique.
Wait, were those cards in the magazine?
No, they're just cards
Oh,
I had
okay.
or found. I just, I put it together, got the matting done, and made the case and all that stuff. But I thought it was kind of cool because the magazine, with the red and stuff, matches the All-Star cards of the '58 top set, and the fact that both of those guys are on the magazine. I just thought it was a neat piece. I'll sort of pull it back so you can see it.
No, that's very cool.
But
That's
that's one
awesome.
of my favorite. Yeah, well, but that's one of my favorite displays that I made, and I've got all sorts of stuff. And Musial to me is very easy because nobody will deny his greatness, but his stuff is rather inexpensive when it comes to his level of, like his place in history is concrete, but you can find his stuff pretty easily. You can get his autographs fairly easily. Another one I made from a '59 yearbook from the Cardinals, and I just made a little case with an
Cool.
autograph from a cut. Someone actually just sent me the cut. It was like, hey, I've got an extra Musial. Well, nobody sends you like an extra Mickey Mantle or Babe Ruth, but a Musial. So that's a really neat piece that. But I like.
Great idea, because I got this. Some Yahoo sent me this, so I might cut this up and make a display.
I saw that you had that, and and I thought that's kind of fun.
I'm making fun of my buddy Chris. Chris here sent me this great
Oh, I know.
piece. So that's
I remember.
I signed that myself.
you did a very good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love I love display and stuff, and I see your 56s behind you in that case and that you made, and it's just I love that kind of stuff. I love to show off whatever I collect. It's there's a point where it's one thing to know that you have a card or an item, but it's another thing to want to see it. Sometimes you can flip through it if it's in a book or the box it's in or whatever. But I like to be able to walk in and see. That's why I like Terry. He's got those great displays that he'll show stuff off. Or who else? Geez, Mikey does the same thing. He's got that case and he'll change it out based on whatever. Or Dylan does the same thing. I love that kind of stuff. And if you ever
Rick Acosta, he just did a video. He's got all kinds of display cases too. And you can't see them here. I have two more over here that you've seen, Drew, because you've helped me quite a bit on giving advice on making these. But it's funny. I don't look so much at the condition of the card or the grade of it or who graded it or if it's raw like I used to. Once I put these up, I just see the cards now and to see them all together, instead of having, this is how my cards typically are. Instead of this, now I've got them up on the wall or I've got all the 56s back there. Like the other day, my wife came down here. She's like, "What are you doing?" Because I was just standing there, like looking at them. I've seen them a million times. She's like, "What are you up to?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just looking at my cards."
Well, it's that feeling like when we went to Cooper, and you're kind of in awe. Not that you own them, but just that they're there and they're still works of art, and they represent so much stuff, whether it's the player or a memory for yourself. And I think that's one of the great things. I mean, cards they're not unobtainable. You can hold them in your hand, you can read them, you can think about it, and they're especially vintage cards are just art, whether they're photographs or drawings or whatever. And they created them to sell a product, to sell bubble gum or to sell whatever. But for us now in our generation, now we get to hold them and look at them. And 53 Bowman is a beautiful set, but that's not the only beautiful set out there, and you can look at a set kind of like at the time, but there's something about it. And I don't know, just to look at them it's what they were meant to be. They were meant to look at. So that's why I have them all over my room, and that's why I want to look.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we've been on almost an hour, and great showing of people. I'm so thankful. I've never done this before and had no clue how this would work. And I don't want to step on the toes of the regulars that go live on Sunday. They're about to go on. Big Scott 35. And I don't know if Alex Bowman 53 is going on tonight, but three of my favorite guys in the community. Thank you so much for joining me. Didn't know how this would go, but I figured even if it was just the four of us, we'd have a good time talking. So
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it was fun.
Very fun.
Maybe we'll do something like this again. And everyone in the chat, thanks so much for joining. Appreciate it, guys. And take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Okay, I think we ended it. Now I got people saying stay on, don't go.
I think we could have out for another hour easily.
That was the quickest
we
hour.
probably could have.
That was the quickest hour of the day, man. That was quick.
It was.
I know. Well, maybe next time we can do it again. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to, like, we'd have a few breaks where no one's talking. I'm like, oh shit, what do we do now? But I think it went well. Okay, we're still live.
I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I'd love to do it again.